After months of allegations and finger-pointing by political opponents, this afternoon a Cuyahoga County grand jury returned a 16-count indictment against Mayor Brandon King, as well as former East Cleveland City Councilman Ernest Smith. Investigators say between January 2019 and just this month, King authorized contracts and payments through the city to businesses owned by the mayor and his family. Here's where Ernest Smith comes in. Investigators say King improperly provided Smith a city-owned vehicle and gas cards to purchase fuel.
Back in hindsight, do you wish you had done anything different?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I wish I'd have did a little different. I should have used it more. I should have had more miles and more gas money.
Another one bites the dust. East Cleveland's own Mayor Brandon King. Yes, the same guy who's been dodging all types of accusations like a pro dodgeball player for years, getting high with his boys on city property and blowing through city's funds like it was monopoly money and treating the mayor's office like a frat house, just got convicted. Not suspended, not investigated, not allegedly, convicted. Let's talk about what he did, how they caught him, and what it means for the growing pile of corrupt mayors from small towns who think they're untouchable. Because what we see right here, it's a pattern of corruption. Now, if you've been rocking with this channel for a while, you already know Brandon King's name came up a few times.
You know, he's got to be the most corruptedest individual I've ever seen in my entire life of politics.
It comes as Mayor Brandon King defends himself against corruption charges.
A panel of 3 retired judges issued its final ruling. By a 2-to-1 vote, the commission suspended King from office effective immediately.
Prosecutors say he funneled city contracts to his own businesses and gave a councilman a city vehicle and gas cards.
This guy has been running East Cleveland into the ground. The man didn't just walk around like he owned the city, he acted like it too. From shady contracts with suspicious spending habits, the red flags were everywhere. And here's the thing, this is the kind of corruption isn't just bad PR, it destroys cities from inside out. We're talking about money meant for schools, roads, families, getting rerouted into personal bank accounts. So this is just not only unethical, but it's a betrayal of the community. The kind of betrayal that leads potholes not getting fixed, emergency services underfunded, and young people losing faith in the system. But like most mayors who get too comfortable in their power chair, King thought the law would never catch up with him. Therefore, he kept playing the game while the investigators, the authority, watched from the bleachers taking notes. And speaking of people getting played, all this political fraud, it reminds me of what's going on in healthcare, especially Medicare. Some of the biggest companies out there are pushing seniors into bad plans just to make a quick buck. It's extremely shady, and sadly, it's pretty common. Even the Department of Justice is starting to crack down on some of these schemes. Multiple investigations are underway into whether these companies have been misleading older Americans or steering them into coverage that benefits the insurer but not the patient. That's why I partnered with Chapter. Chapter reviews over 24,000 Medicare plans to find the best one for you or your loved ones. No pressure, no sales pitch, just real help from a real human. And it's totally free. Many seniors are dealing with this situation right now, and the system is confusing on purpose. So having someone honest in your corner, that matters. Most people who use Chapter save over $1,100 a year. Call 262-454-0419. Again, that's 262-454-0419. You can also check the link that's going to be in the pinned comment and the description box below. Now let's get back into it. So here's what brought King down: bribery. The classic bribery. According to prosecutors, King was caught up in a pay-to-play scheme where city contracts were being handed out like party favors, only if you greased the right palms. Vendors and developers would donate to pay for access, and boom, they'll land contracts with the city. That's not partnership, that's basically extortion dressed up in a tie and a smile. And it gets worse. He wasn't alone. At least one city council member was involved too.
Suspended mayor and councilman, they're accused of corruption, stealing from the city, abusing their power.
This is Justin Anderson, an East Cleveland City truck driver. On Wednesday, the state called him to the stand. They questioned him about Smith using a city-owned car for personal reasons. The East Cleveland councilman is accused of misusing a city credit card and car.
We saw him taking his mother of his child to the hospital. He would drop his kids off at school. I know I described two, but there was another one. It looks like a Grand Prix-ish type of car, and that's the one when he was on the news for the strippers, and they said he drove it to Detroit.
Anderson was referring to a 2019 incident where Smith was arrested, accused of selling alcohol at an unlicensed property for a back-to-school fundraiser. It was later revealed he was also accused of taking exotic dancers to and from that event.
So this wasn't one guy doing dirt. This was a network of corruption where everyone playing their part like a bad mob movie. You're probably wondering, what proof did they have? Well, they had plenty of receipts. Before we get into the guilty verdict, let's talk about this actual trial that came out the last couple of days. The prosecution came in locked and loaded. They built their case around a mountain of evidence. They had wiretaps, emails, city contract, and witness testimonies from insiders who flipped.
Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Michael O'Malley said King, quote, demonstrated a complete disregard and disdain for the rule of law, adding, quote, the citizens of East Cleveland deserve better.
Their story was clear. King abused his position to hand out contracts in exchange for bribes. They made the jury feel the betrayal. They showed how the city suffered while King profited. Meanwhile, the defense tried to paint a different picture. They claimed this was all a misunderstanding, that their so-called donations were legit, and the prosecutors was just twisting everyday political deals into criminal acts. They even tried to suggest that the real problem was a political vendetta, which is the go-to to every corrupt person out there. When they get caught up on something, whether it's an indictment or even a guilty verdict, they always say, this was political. I was set up. I did everything correct. They did not want me to continue my political career. So this is all just a witch hunt. The problem is that argument didn't stick. Not when you got voice recordings and emails saying the quiet part out loud. Recordings of phone calls where the deals were discussed. Email trails showing the quid pro quo arrangements. Testimony from insiders who flipped when the pressure came down. This wasn't he said, she said. This was he said, and then we played the audio in court. And once that stuff came out, it's game over. King was found guilty, and now he's just another politician turned felon heading for sentencing. And here's the part that stings the most. East Cleveland is one of the most financially struggling cities in Ohio. They're not rolling in extra tax dollars. They're not balling out of control. So when you have a mayor lining his own pockets while his city crumbles, that's beyond selfish. That's criminal on a human level. The streets need fixing. Schools need help. People need real leadership. Instead, they got a man who's more interested in backroom deals than front page progress. And I promise you, he's not the only one. This is part of a bigger story. We talked about Tiffany here a lot on this channel. We talked about mayors and all parts of the country where the people at the top act like local royalty, untouchable and unchecked. But every time one of them gets exposed, it creates momentum. Therefore, King's conviction is a signal, a warning, a message that even if you think your town is too small, your power is too tight, or your allies are too loyal, the truth will eventually hit the fan. And the fallout, it always comes. Just ask Brandon King.
King was suspended in January after he was indicted. Former Councilman Ernest Smith was also indicted and convicted Thursday of charges including theft in office. We're told both plan to appeal those convictions. They are scheduled to be sentenced June 9th.
Brandon King thought he can get away with this. And for a while he did, but the walls finally closed in. Now he's facing years behind bars. His political career is officially in the toilet, buried, and his political career is officially in the graveyard, buried next to every promise that he made and broke. But here's the real question. How many more mayors are out there right now doing the same thing? If you know, if you have any ideas, put in the comments below. Because we need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep making noise. We need to keep pulling out those FOIA records, keep showing up at those council meetings, keep the cameras rolling. Because the one thing corruption hates is sunlight. So East Cleveland will survive Brandon King, but the scars are going to last for a while. The trust is damaged, the finances are wasted, and leadership is just questionable at best. The hope that this conviction sparks real reform, that someone steps up who's actually there to lead and not to scheme. But let's be real, history tells us there's always another Brandon King waiting in the wings. Unless the people stay involved, unless we keep calling this stuff out, unless folks stop treating mayors like mini gods and start holding them to the same laws that we all have to follow, this type of thing will continue to happen. So yeah, another corrupt mayor down. And so honestly, he probably will not be the last. So if you're interested in this type of content, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for all the support over the last couple of weeks. It's been absolutely amazing. If you want to support even further, I have a Patreon, and always sign up to my free email newsletter so you always keep up with what's going on in the channel. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.